Esse episódio especial foi gravado em inglês, mas você pode acompanhar o vídeo legendado por aqui mesmo.
E aí pessoal, aqui é o Yuri Gitahy, fundador do MVP e do podcast A Jornada do Sebrae Startups. Eu tô aqui com o Eric Ries, que é o autor do Startup Way. Todo mundo conhece, é um cara icônico. Vou fazer uma apresentação para ele em inglês. Eric, so as I was telling you before, I was the last guy to recommend you on LinkedIn. And you closed the recommendations because you became a rock star, everybody knows you. So I was asking you about if you remember those days when you started talking about continuous deployment and everything that from software became the lean startup. So do you miss the old days?
Oh yeah, I do. I mean, look, it's there's something amazing about what's happened. You know, like this became such a global phenomenon, and so many people in so many countries embraced lean startup and built their own communities around it. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. But there was something very fun about being revolutionary in the early days. You know, we were doing battle with the people with the old ideas and trying to bring a new vocabulary and a new way of thinking about startups to work. And I never expected to win. I didn't think that was, I thought I would be having that fight the rest of my life. But, you know, and not because of me, I don't think, but because of so many entrepreneurs embracing it around the world, we just won the battle. And then now what? I have to think about what's next. So there was something really magical. But just for people who don't know, just to give the context, it seems now inevitable that this would happen. But when I first started blogging right after the financial crisis, so 2009, 10, that time, I was so embarrassed to be writing a blog. I did it anonymously. I didn't even put my name on it because I was worried that people would think I was, disreputable, be bad for my career. People advised me not to do it. And it went from that level of obscurity and me being so timid to this phenomenon only in a few years. So it really happened very quickly.
How do you think about when you look back and you see like, now you have gray hair and you enjoy the journey. You travel all around the world, talking to people and meeting new people.
Oh, it's wonderful.
What did it change in you?
I mean, it was very transformational for me because first of all, I used to live and work only in Silicon Valley. So I didn't travel. I didn't meet entrepreneurs from other places. Everything was very focused on software and on venture-backed companies on Sand Hill Road. It was very local. And I feel like I got given the backstage pass to the whole world of business, everywhere, every continent, every kind of business size and company and nonprofits and governments. And it was very eye-opening, so I learned a lot from it. And I also got to be part of this, I feel a sense of real camaraderie with the entrepreneurs that I met all over the world. I never thought I would be welcomed in so many places and to feel such a close bond with so many people. But it made me realize, and I don't think this would have been possible before, that we're all part of a startup movement. We all have a common cause. We're all trying to reform our global society in this very specific way. And so, for Lean Startup to have played a part in helping to catalyze that, that's something I'll always treasure.
Sure, yeah. And not many people know the connection between you and Stephen Blank.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, because probably when you were at MView,
Yes.
he was an investor in MView,
Yes,
and he asked you guys to do this Stanford course. Is that the right thing?
Almost right, yeah. So the story actually goes back before IMVU. Steve had been an investor in the very first startup that I ever joined to work at in Silicon Valley. And that startup did everything wrong, according to Steve, and he quit the board in frustration, and it was a whole thing. And I was new to the Valley at the time, and I thought, well, he must hate us because we just lost him all this money. And my then co-founder at IMVU, he said to me, I don't understand, that's not how it works around here. He's going to want to invest in our next company. So we went back to him, and I couldn't believe it. He said, what's our pitch going to be? Hi, sir, we lost you all your money, but would you like to give us more money? And then he said, yeah. That's right, because we learned a lot from that experience, and Steve had just started to teach at UC Berkeley. Stanford wouldn't have him at that time. Yeah, at UC Berkeley, he was teaching in the business school, the very first class in what he called customer development. And he said, well, why don't you guys, I'll make the investment, why don't you guys come audit my class, and we'll talk about these ideas for customer development. I can still remember sitting there with him, and I was young, so I would argue with him. We would have debates about whether what he was saying applied to engineering and software. He comes from a marketing and sales background. I came from an engineering background. So that friction that we had between us, the dynamism, I think that was very helpful and interesting for both of us.
And I remember that he probably mentioned you on the foreword of his book. You're probably reviewing some of the work. Is that right?
Yeah, because you don't understand. These ideas were so controversial that Steve didn't have a publisher. He didn't have a blog or anything. This is before he had a blog. If you remember the company Cafe Press, they're still around. They make T-shirts and stuff. He had been an investor in Cafe Press. I think he might have even been on their board. And they had a publishing venture where you could self-publish a book. This is before Amazon did that, long ago. He self-published the first version of his book on Cafe Press, and that I still have the original yellow. Now the pages are just that the paper was cheap and the yellow cover is mine, but I have that original copy, and it was so for me. I mean, I thought it was great, but when I would give it to other people to read, a lot of people would be like, "What is it?" It wasn't.
Doesn't make any sense.
It was hard. It was a deep book. It required a lot of work to understand. And I remember going to him and I said, "Look, with all respect, he was the one with the gray hair. I was young. I just said, well, could I help you, revise it? Could we edit it together? Could we make it better and bring it to a whole new generation of people?" And that partnership worked out very well for both of us.
Oh, so your CS background became involved with the customer development method and then generated the new startup movement.
Yeah, I think that is a fair way to think about it. And I remember after we became successful, then people had a lot of debate about who should get credit. What about this term? What about that term? And remember, we would go back, and I remember what Steve once told me. I can't remember. I think it was one of the words that I had coined. He's like, "I thought I coined that one," and he went back and he checked the book, and he's like, "Oh no, I guess not. I guess I didn't say. I had the concept, but not the word." Because in life, there are these moments in history when the right idea is coming through, and was it this person? Was it that person? I don't know. I don't take any credit for it. I don't feel like it was me that I did it. I feel like when people are ready for an idea, it comes often through multiple people, bring it to the audience. And honestly, I think at that time there were certain people who wanted to hear the story from a young, entrepreneur-looking person. Those people gravitated to me. There's other people who wanted to hear it from an eminence, a gray-haired veteran who had been successful. So Steve played that avatar. So each of us had our role to play in the development of the popularity of the idea.
Yeah, so you coined the revolution, as you said, but a lot of people were with you at the time.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you.
And everyone who's watching. And that's it. Thanks a lot, man. So
thank you very much. Follow Sebrae Startups. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.